Hi everybody, my name's Alan. On behalf of the crew, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, so much of our lives are really just, involved with various forms of busyness. You know, busyness with our jobs and busyness with our businesses and busyness with our families. And somehow, in our hearts, we know that there is something we can do, some experience we could have that changes that activity, that changes the movement in our lives from busyness into love and motion, into an experience of joy as we move through this life. And, for most of us, we have to pay rent and we have to, support our families. And these things at this time, until they don't exist, until maybe a new paradigm is set up where those things are slightly different. But in our hearts, we do know that there is something bigger. On the last show we talked about, last time we shot some shows a couple of months ago, we were talking about how whatever you think you are, you're bigger. And that is so true, and we know that. We know that there's an infinite part of ourselves. We know that there's an experience that we can have in this life that just feels much more connected, that feels much more in harmony with truly who we are. And yet we go day to day, and in one way or another, through different avenues and sources, and throughout history, religion's been one of those ways to experience God, the connection, the oneness. And yet somehow we feel like it's not happening. And that there is this division that plagues us as human beings. And we want to feel that love and manifest it. We want to, basically what a human wants is to feel love and share it. And really, we know now that the time is here. The time is now to have that experience and to share it. And whatever ways, whatever tools we can use to open our hearts to that experience, we want to know, and then we want to manifest it. And so often in this life, we see people talking about something and then their lives don't exemplify that. They somehow don't walk the walk. And tonight's guest is one of those people who walks the walk. I mean, Karen Morrissey has had a history of humanitarian and charitable endeavors. And then she went through her process of having high-powered, high-priority, high-intensity jobs in corporate America, giant corporate America. She was successful. Like a guest we had recently, Manny Baumick. I mean, he was successful. And Karen was successful. She was a star in corporate America. And our heart said, there's more. There's more I can share, there's more I can experience, there's more I can know. And she started changing her walk so she could walk the walk of love. And so through a series of realizations, a series of experience, she took a leave of absence from this high intensity, high corporate, high paying, successful job, and knew there must be more. And then she came through this series of experiences to Shoes for the Soul. She founded this organization called Shoes for the Soul, S-O-U-L. And what does it do? Its purpose is to put shoes on children who don't have shoes on their feet. And what it does to go through this life without shoes on your feet. And what a difference she's making. And it started with, as all things start, with one shoe, and then 5 shoes, and then 50 shoes. Now she's providing shoes to Africa, and her organization, Shoes for the Soul, is basically manifesting, walking that walk, providing shoes so other people can begin to walk that walk all over the planet. And, again, we're honored. I mean, literally, Karen flew here from Florida to California. Most of you know we do the show in Santa Barbara, California, for literally 2 days just to share her love with all of us, with you, and to bring her story of that love humbly and joyously to you. So, I mean, we're so honored to have, Karen here with us to tell us and to share with us how she walks her walk. And we have, as we normally do, 2 beautiful videos. We have a Scott Johnson video, and then this video, I'll explain a little more later, Neidow Masley video, an animation music video that's extraordinary. And as we normally have been doing lately, we have 2 art pieces that have been sent in as part of the Bridging Heaven and Earth Art Project, where people all over the world are producing a new original piece based on the theme Bridging Heaven and Earth, just for the energetics of it and the vibration of it and almost the acupuncture of it. And they're extraordinary pieces. And again, we're honored. They're pieces by a good friend of Bridging's, Bonnie Wren and Caitlin Mariah, and you'll see them, as the show progresses. So why don't we start out with the first video? The first video is by, let me do a meditation to get us all settled in, and then we'll have the first video. So join me in a short meditation, settle in, relax. Let's hear about somebody who's really walking the walk, and we all the world needs us all to walk the walk more and clearer and with more passion and more love, because look around, the walk needs to be walked. Okay, thank you. So the first video is going to be by Scott Johnson. He's the founder and director of the Positive Music Association. It's a beautiful organization that tries to spread positive music all over the planet, on the internet, through networking, all different ways. Scott is really dedicated to that, and he's beautiful. And he wrote this song and plays it and did some video on it, Just a Heartbeat Away. So it's Scott Johnson, Just a Heartbeat Away.
Tonight I lay my body down to fly. If you could only see what I see up here in the sky. But don't you worry, don't you cry, I haven't left, I'm by your side. I'm just a heartbeat away, I'm with you every day, though your eyes can't see. Just call and I'll be there, you'll find me everywhere. Just reach out for me, I'm never far from where you are, 'cause I am just a heartbeat away. I know from where you are, it's hard to understand. The empty shell you see is not who I am. And don't you worry, don't you cry, I haven't left, I'm by your side. I'm just a heartbeat away, I'm with you every day, though your eyes can't see. Just call and I'll be there, you'll find me everywhere. Just reach out for me, I'm never far from where you are, 'cause I am just a heartbeat away. You'll find me in the stars that shimmer in the dark. Hear me in the breeze that blows through aspen leaves. You'll see me in the smile of a newborn child. We can share this place, just a heartbeat away. The There's so much more going on than you can see. We are so much more than we seem to be. So don't you worry, don't you cry. I haven't left, I'm by your side. I'm just a heartbeat away. I'm with you every day, though your eyes can't see. Just a heartbeat. Just call and I'll be there. You'll find me everywhere. Just reach out for me. Just a heartbeat. I'm never far from where you are, 'cause I am just a heartbeat away. 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 Just a heartbeat. Just go just a heartbeat. Just a heartbeat. Just a heartbeat.
Hi, welcome back. So we're on the set with Karen, and also I want to thank Scott for sending in that beautiful video, the music video, and the picture in between us, as we've been doing lately, is the Caitlin Mariah picture, Swan Rose Magic, that she did for the Bridging Heaven and Earth art project. You know, she created this piece based on the theme Bridging Heaven and Earth, so it's really magnificent. So we're really honored that she drove it in from Cincinnati the last time to California, so it's really magnificent. So why don't you talk a little bit about, I know at the opening I gave, a general outline, but that when you caught fire and when you knew that, it was necessary for you to walk the walk that you weren't walking, but that you needed to walk.
Well, I believe I caught fire a long time ago. And actually, my life, first off, Shoes for the Soul, I'm the visionary. My vision for Shoes for the Soul came from a conversation that I had with a person asking me what she should do with a few bags of shoes that were in her garage. And from that conversation, it led me to ask another individual, we're all interconnected, what I should do with the shoes. And there were 2 bags of shoes, and she said, we not only would utilize those 2 bags of shoes, we could utilize 2,000 bags of shoes. And I couldn't fathom, really.
So that surprised you, that there was such a need.
There was such a need. The need is profound. As basic. It's a basic necessity of life. When your feet hurt, can you think?
Well,
we all utilize.
Would say that whether they hurt or not.
We all utilize a pair of shoes. I mean, I know this morning, in packing, when I came here, I packed shoes that matched what I was going to wear. Most people do. Most people have that, that the ability to do that today. And I couldn't fathom that there are children. We live in one of the most abundant societies in the world. And there were actually children in my own backyard, from Broward County, Florida,
which
in Fort Lauderdale.
Which is a very generally wealthy county.
Very, one of the wealthiest counties in the United States. That literally the children did not have a pair of shoes. It's a basic need. And I found out actually, and from that led another question. Well, how many shelters do we actually have here? And how many children? There were 2,000 children in Broward County last year that went to school that stayed in the homeless shelters. Wow. Those 2,000 children needed shoes. And having walked the walk, as you said, in corporate America, and it was a very uncomfortable walk, Alan. It was really uncomfortable. I knew a long time ago that I was where I didn't belong. But how do you tell someone that you're where you don't belong? We're all on a track. we're all on one
there's
track or another.
tremendous momentum.
Yeah, we're on a momentum. We're on a fast track. We get up in the morning. We do what we're supposed to do throughout the day. And then we say, did I do that right? Did I say the right thing to my boss? Did I do the right thing in this negotiation? What if my numbers didn't come in correctly? Where am I? Who are we? And I always knew that this just wasn't me, you know. When I was young, my dad used to say that I was out to change the world. And we would have these profound discussions. You know, I'm the girl that brought the mission baby can home. And wanted
today's
to know,
his birthday when we're shooting the show.
Actually, today is. And I wanted to know, like, why we couldn't bring, why these children are starving. Where are they? You know, since I was young, I had these profound conversations. So he always told me, and you say today's his birthday. My dad's been gone a long time. And I trust today that he's one of my guides. And he said, when you cease to stop watching your own feet and you watch the feet of others and what they do, when you don't serve your purpose with your own walk, then you'll trip over your feet. And basically that's what I did. There was a day that came when I couldn't chew gum and walk across the room at the same time.
With what you were doing in
With what I was doing in corporate America. And that was it. It was over.
So at that point you said, okay, I have to do something different, but nothing had presented itself quite yet?
No, nothing presented itself. I kept doing what I was doing.
So you just took a leave of absence?
Yeah, and actually I about a month after, I took a leave of absence, and about a month after this conversation with the woman, I could not. I went to sleep and I thought about children with shoes. I got up throughout the day and without shoes. I just thought about it. I thought, how could this possibly be? And I have many.
Some of these things are amazing.
I have
it's amazing.
many things in my background, and many, you know, I've done many things. I have an immigration law background from Washington, D.C., corporate America, where I worked in the healthcare field, and I did research. I began to read, and I began to speak with individuals and wondering how could this possibly be. And the idea was really simple. It's corporate America asking them for their overstocks, their discontinueds, and their seconds. If your shoes came out of the batch blue and they were supposed to be black, give them to me. You can choose to have the PR or the corporate write-off, and it was a simple idea of working with social workers and caseworkers, and in the homeless shelters, other children, other organization that service children, and I began to ask, and the individuals rallied around my efforts that what I wanted to do, and I wrote the 501c3 by myself, and I was asking for signs. Is this going to work? Is it not? And they said I would hear in 6 to 8 weeks from the IRS, and I heard in 15 days.
Wow. I mean, because we're a 501c, the Brigham and Earth Foundation, and we didn't hear in 15
And I did, and actually,
wow.
and so there it began. And a few shoe drives later, and calls to corporate America, and before you knew it, we had a warehouse full of shoes.
And it's ongoing, you have an ongoing warehouse full of shoes.
Yep. Boys on one side, girls on the other, sized from infants all the way through to the largest size that we've given away is a size 18.
Shaquille O'Neal has no shoes?
No, he's 20. He's a 22.
Oh, okay.
He's
as long
actually
as you
a 22.
Know.
Yeah, no,
now
22,
that he's in
23.
your area, you can get him to sign his shoes. You know,
and actually, you know, that's what we do. It's very simple. It's really well
organized. And so, I
organized.
mean, the need is constant in a way.
The need's constant. The need is
The need
worldwide.
is always constant in Florida, or are you
It's
expanding worldwide?
The need's constant everywhere. I was very honored to have been given a Halo Award by Family Circle magazine this year in January, and I had no idea that I knew that Family Circle was going to write a story. I had no idea it was a Halo Award, and that in and of itself was phenomenal for me. I don't do this alone, you know.
Nobody
the angels
does.
carry me daily, and there were 4 of us, and I received well over, I lost count, about 150, 160 emails and requests for 49 chapters nationwide.
Wow.
So
And how many are in the process
this year,
of being set
we will, by the end of this year, we will have a chapter in New York and New Jersey, and we'll have a chapter in Orlando.
Wow. And you were involved in a project with Kenya, right? I mean,
Actually. We bend the rules a little bit, you know. We've done
What
several.
are the rules?
There aren't any rules.
Oh, I was going to say,
Okay.
how do you bend them? I read
On
your
the
stuff. It's like,
501c3, we bend the rules a bit. We have a couple of great things that we do with Shoes for the Soul. Is we have given shoes on Mother's Day last year. We did a mother-daughter for the mothers in the homeless shelters, and the mothers and the daughters each received a pair of shoes.
and they are all new.
They're all brand new shoes.
Right.
The children that we service feel, let me tell you, it's like this. They feel like used goods already. Children that come through the circumstances that are economically challenged know at their earliest age and carry that with them, that in some form there was an economic, emotional, mental, there was a physical problem. They have typically seen abuse in every shape and form that it could possibly, manifest itself. So
and
they're
not
all
having
new
shoes
shoes.
is like the last of the indignities, kind of.
It is. It is. It's shame. It's children. Remember the 4 eyes and the tinsel teeth, the bottle glasses. When you were young, banana nose, whatever children might say to each other. Shoes. To go to school without a new pair of shoes is a form of you get razzed. You really do.
Yeah,
So the children, it's the
very
abuse is
slow,
yeah. Children will be, the abuse is profound in adults, so let alone it starts in school. So it's a form of dignity and self-esteem, and it's a way of giving them a new pair of shoes is hope, and it's a form for us, it's compassion, and it teaches them. The letters that I've received are absolutely amazing. Thank you for the pair of shoes. This was from a little boy that was in a homeless shelter. Now when the other kids are, the boys are out playing basketball, rec, I could play too. Thank you for the shoes because my mom really, really, really couldn't afford them. Thank you for the shoes because I didn't have any. There was a girl in a homeless shelter and she was 13 and they had a phenomenal life. Her father was an executive. The mom was a stay-at-home mom. The dad had a massive heart attack and wasn't prepared well with regard to his family. They ended up in the Broward County homeless shelter. And she was devastated at how could she lost it all. Private school, everything. They were in a homeless shelter. And I gave her 2 pairs of shoes.
But for the grace of God.
Yeah, but for the grace of God, there go I.
Right.
And she said, thank you for the shoes that helped me find a way to clear my blues.
Wow.
She was able to, there was a pastor who came from way out west in Broward County. He heard about me and there was a knock on the door one day, and I opened the door, and he said, "Hi, Miss Karen," and I said, "Hi, how are you?" And he said, "I have some girls that need shoes." And we ended up giving shoes to, I think it was 55 or 60 girls, and the letters that I received, and he called me and he said, these girls went to school the next day. They ended, the shelter or the organizations that you service. Do you know what you do? And no, I really don't know. I know that I'm just serving my mission and what I'm supposed to. That's it.
Yeah, but I know now you must have some sense that, what you're doing is, manifesting love. And all of us need love, especially people and kids who aren't feeling it. So the shoes are just, really like we talk about all the time on the show, love in motion, and love walking. In this case, every time I say it,
Speaking
it's
about
like
walking,
the shoes and walking and walking.
Speaking about walking, we will on average walk 115,000 miles in our lifetime. How many pairs of shoes is that? We will actually, that's at a minimum, they say. Our feet. 25% of the bones in our body are in our feet. These are children who, Ambrosia's shoes, these are children that she was a size 12 and a half and went through the summer as a size 11. And when she came to school, her feet were red and swollen. She was an emergency case where the social worker said, help. We have many, many of those. I've received more than I could possibly imagine.
So the impact, is just individually and collectively just massive in a way.
Yes. Why, I started to question when I started to think about Shoes for the Soul and what I wanted to do, and I simply give shoes to kids. But the need is profound. The need is the volumes of little feet and youth that could be served. All of that is just love. It's opening up their heart and their heart chakra. Mine was closed for a long time, and on my path in corporate America. And today I know what it's like to be open. And the emails that I received from spiritually empowered, or you could say moms, empowered women that wanted to make a difference, and said, how do I do what you do? How can we start chapters? I'm the mom, I'm the lunch mom, and I see children in my class. We could afford shoes for my daughter, but I could children in her class that can't afford them. How can we do what we do?
This show goes literally all over the world. I mean, through the internet and the stations we're on. I mean, how can people start chapters? I mean, is it like under your umbrella? Are there certain no-rule rules? I mean, if people are watching the show, I mean, they can call me later. I mean,
they actually can, and it's very simple. Also, starting the chapters are we're actually crawling before we're walking here, and Shoes for the Soul ran. It never had a chance to crawl and then put on its first set of shoes and walk. And for that, I'm be ever so grateful. But if there are needs in your community, there are homeless shelters in your community. We have a national, in this country, which this is, I've had many situations where I'm going, oh, really? We have a National Association of Homeless School Coordinators. I would never think in a country with such abundance as ours that we have such an organization. And there are chapters, there are homeless school coordinators in every major city in this country. And in Broward County there's 15 homeless shelters. I don't know how many there are in Chicago, Los Angeles, New York.
It must be almost like
the numbers.
One every street corner or something.
But a shoe drive and going to the homeless shelters and saying, do you need shoes for the children? I'd be more than happy to speak with anybody. They could call at any time or email me. And we started something with Shoes for the Soul called a Junior Advisory Board. And when I decided to do it, because there were two young gals that needed community service hours, and they wanted to do something. Actually, community service hours was secondary to what they wanted to do. They wanted to give back, and they took their money from their bat mitzvah, and they actually bought beautiful little necklaces that had a little feet on the necklaces, and they sold them, and they donated the proceeds to Shoes for the Soul. Wow. And from that one project every year, that was a few years ago, and from that project every year they've done a different project. Wow. So when children want to do shoe drives, they coordinate with these two gals, and now it's become probably 15 or 20 youth.
And that's in Florida?
Yes, and that's in Florida. But they could email at any time. So, and chapters, the goal is that there will be chapters and affiliations worldwide.
Because we were talking earlier, while we were setting up, how amazing it is that need is so great that you would think in a world that has so much abundance that there would be shoes, but it's disproportionate.
It is, and we're all walking our path, and I don't know, do we really know what our path is until we're on it? And then we change, and then there's a bump in the road, and then the road might be paved, and then all of a sudden we get to the fork in the road and say, which way do we go? And that's how Shoes for the Soul has come into being, and that's how it's just, it is truly, truly a grassroots organization. Everything that has come to me and filled my heart within this organization has come through the grace of others, and it's been manifested. Everything has come gratis. The logo is from the students, the honor students at the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, it's a beautiful one.
I mean, everything has just come gratis, and all the events that we have are ideas of others that are concepted and moved forward.
That's beautiful.
Organizations such as the Colors of Freedom Foundation, without their support, we could not move forward. The work that they do is profound, because they are just, it allows us, they're a catalyst. It allows the work of Shoes for the Soul to move forward. So we do work. We work with other organizations, and we work with others.
Yeah, you and I were talking earlier how collaboration is so important.
Collaboration is.
Yeah, okay, well we'll take a break, see the second video. Okay. It's a beautiful video. It's called Table to the Sun. It's the animations by this extraordinary animator, a good friend of Bridging's from the San Francisco area, Bill Neidow, and the music is Michael Masley, and it's Table of the Sun. Hi everybody, welcome back. So the picture you're seeing now is Hearts on Fire by a really good friend of ours at Bridging, Bonnie Wren, who also gets the show on in a bunch of places on the East Coast. And this is one of the first paintings that came into Bridging. It's just I don't know if you can see it from the way it is, but just got, you know, it's multimedia. It's just really, really explosive and beautiful. So Hearts on Fire. So Karen, you have something that somebody sent you, a little letter that really exemplifies a lot of what you're doing and just the heart of it. Why don't you read that? It's really fantastic.
Actually, it was. This is an email that I received. I spoke about Ambrosia shoes, and it begins by Karen. A teacher sent this little girl to me today. Her shoes are so small that her ankles are swollen and red. Her toes are wearing holes in the front of her shoes and are folded under in the toe of the shoe. Can you please help? We figure since the number on the bottom of her sneakers is an 11, that a 12 would probably be perfect for her. This is a note I received, and I received an email back the following day because it was an emergency case. Dear Karen, I wanted to follow up regarding little Ambrosia's shoes. I gave them to her on Wednesday. She was so incredibly excited. She had not a moment's hesitation when I told her that she had to write a thank you and trade her old shoes for new ones. She was so proud of herself in her new, comfortable shoes. One of the teachers gave her a crown to wear that day because she said she felt like a princess. When I went back on Thursday to pick up her thank you picture, she told me to make sure I said hello to the shoe fairy for her. She looked better than I had ever seen her look in quite a while. Her hair was fresh and clean and brushed. Her little face was clean, and she was still smiling. Those shoes were just what this 6-year-old needed to boost her self-esteem and give her the pride to stand tall within herself. Thank you so much for all you do to help better serve our clients. I just wish people would realize how important clean shoes that fit are in the life of a child. If only we could bottle the smell of Ambrosia's old shoes to share with others. I can't imagine trying to make it through the day with my feet hurting and others avoiding me because of the odor coming from my shoes. I only wish it was possible to share the shining, smiling face of a child in whose life something as simple as a new pair of shoes could make such a profound impact.
Wow.
Jennifer Simon, school social worker.
And you must get similar iterations of that all the time, right?
All the time. All the time. And actually, when I received this email, I'll confess and say I'm a workaholic, you know. There's always a need for children in shoes, and there's always something rolling through my head as to what we can do next and how we could expand. And it was late at night, and I couldn't sleep, and I went in and opened up my emails because I work in an office space as well at home, and I cried. And I realized this is why, oh my goodness, this is why I sobbed. This is why I do what I do. This is why the cases upon cases, moving the shoes, moving the warehouse, calling the social workers, making sure. How Shoes for the Soul works is that each pair of shoes is distributed via a social worker. I can tell you every pair of shoes that we've given out for every month since May of 2003. We've given out over 25,000 pair. And it's very simple, and it's uncomplicated. A social worker fills out the form, with a name, age.
So your organization and the service you provide is becoming well known, at least in that region.
We've given to over 150 organizations, and it's either school social workers, organizations that serve other nonprofits that serve children, and community-based hospital organizations. Within the hospital communities, they have services that for the indigent population that they service, and so we work with them in that regard, and we work with the administrators and the social workers within the hospitals. And actually, it's very simple. They email in, and each child gets an individually labeled and tagged pair of shoes with their name on it and their shoe size and their age. Wow. And the social workers come and pick up the shoes, actually.
So you don't have trucks that deliver at this point?
No, there isn't a delivery.
So there's another,
there isn't delivery. Actually, it's on my wish list. It's on my list.
I knew I didn't think of it.
It's on the list, but one of, we learn many lessons in our life, and we look and say, where are we today, and where have we come? I needed to come full circle, because when I was in corporate America, one of the things as I look back was I would do one thing, or I had a staff of 20, and I ran 16 states and had offices in four states, and I would say something, that's not my job. No, I don't do that. No, that's your job. The job of the social worker is to work with the child and to work with the agencies. So it is full circle. They see the child, they know what the child's needs are. They come to us, whatever, on an emergency basis or once a week. Our service hours, like we'll go from 9 to 11 or 1 to 3 and pick up the shoes.
And so your warehouse is open for those certain hours, and people just come with applications or forms filled out?
Everything is already done beforehand. It's very simple. When somebody needs a pair of shoes, the form is emailed to them. Everything is done electronically. They email it back to us. The children that need community service hours, or the adults that want to volunteer, or myself, or board members, whomever may be, whoever has free time and is on schedule to pull shoes, pulls the shoes. And then emails are sent back, calls are made, and a certain amount of time, within a certain time frame, the social workers come and pick up the shoes. It's all very calculated.
Wow.
And it works really well, yes. In instances where we're handing out over 400 or 500 pairs of shoes, 200 pairs of shoes, then a truck will come and pick up the shoes from the organization. We've just given 4,000 pairs of shoes to kick off Shoes to Africa, Shoes for Kenya. We've worked with First Baptist Church in Fort Lauderdale. They were doing an international mission, and they came to Shoes for the Soul via Neighbors for Neighbors, an organization that's based in CBS Channel 4 in South Florida. And Mia Shoes, Maria and Richard Strauss have been really wonderful benefactors of Shoes for the Soul. And I met Maria when I first was starting Shoes for the Soul in South Florida. I went down to visit her at their home in Key Biscayne, and I thought I would be in and out in 5 minutes. And here's this woman starting an organization. She, there isn't any backing that she has. And Maria, not only, I spent the entire day. She took me to lunch, and I found myself driving home at 5:30 saying, wow, what was that? What that was Maria Strauss was an individual that knew what it was not like to have shoes. She was originally from Cuba. She knew about the Pedro Pound children, and she knew that children did not have shoes in need. She was very, very grateful for what she had. I've had many individuals, executives, bakers, truck drivers, celebrities. Remember, everyone has a shoe story, if you think about it. Do you remember you had a favorite pair of shoes? Or boots? I mean, you have we all have a story.
Times, yeah,
we all have a story.
Times, sure.
My husband, was an executive with 6-figure income and worked his way through, 2 careers. And he tells me that they all had a piece under of linoleum, underneath the radiator. And he grew up, in a railroad apartment in New York. And he's not the only one. So many people have said that they have a shoe story. I heard a few today, actually, here. So.
Yeah, I think it's pretty root. It's what we're standing on, what we're walking on. Mm-hmm. And if it's really not supportive of us, emotionally, physically, or otherwise, then it really is.
It is our root.
Disastrous.
It is.
In a way.
It is our root. Your shoes, or rather your boots, when you put on a new pair of boots, they will conform to your feet. When I put on a new pair of shoes, I saw a pair today that I'll go back and buy tomorrow in a wonderful store in Santa Barbara.
This is very exciting. Yeah.
Really. But my shoe,
Shoes
that
for
shoe,
Karen's Feet is the new organization.
that will conform.
We're trying to get chapters everywhere.
They will actually, I have to sample the shoes.
No,
they will actually conform to my feet within the first or second walking that I'll have on them, the first or second usage. So actually, my shoe can never be your shoe or anyone else's shoe,
so you're
because
not much
it's yours.
For thrift stores and boots, because we in the old days we used to do shoes and boots from thrift stores. They seemed to be okay. They weren't great, but I remember thinking they were all right.
I don't know. What I know about shoes today and how they
You're
conform to one's feet.
It's
I
amazing.
don't know. So,
right.
But it's just been it's been a wonderful ride, actually. Another great benefactor of Shoes for the Soul is Donald Pliner. You know, Donald surely has made it in the shoe industry. He is, I happen to love his shoes, and several of my friends, and he's been very fortunate. And when I met Donald and Lisa Pliner, and I asked Donald to be an honorary board member of Shoes for the Soul, and he said, surely, he remembered he was born, as they say, with a slipper spoon in his mouth, and his family was in the shoe industry. And every year he does a wonderful benefit for Shoes for the Soul at his store in South Florida, and he not only gives a financial contribution from that benefit, he has a reception at his store, and he gives me he matches with an in-kind contribution. Last year it was $45,000 in in-kind, and this year it was $70,000 in in-kind.
Wow.
So it's pretty incredible. But he remembers what it was like.
So, I mean, are you still having to be in the position where you have to buy shoes to support all the shoes you give out?
Well, yes and no, actually. We've been very fortunate to receive shoes in kind, through in-kind donations, and between the shoe drives and the overstocks and the discontinues that we receive from individuals, I've received shoes from Reebok, Stride Right, Mia Shoes, Payless.
Do they do that on a regular basis, or is that like...
No, not really. It's when they have the availability, they will do that. Actually, you know, it's not as easy as someone would think to get the shoes from the shoe manufacturers. There's a grassroots organization actually based here in California called Shoes That Fit. And you say, why, you know, when I spoke recently with the executive director, they only service children in schools, as opposed to, and they only service a certain age group. And what happens after that age group? We service children within the community with other nonprofits, you know, Kids in Distress, Boys and Girls Clubs, Children's Home Society, SOS Children's Village. And when I was speaking to her, she asked me about the same question, is where do you get your shoes? Been very fortunate that, because what happens is now the shoes go to outlets. There's a Nike outlet, there's a Reebok outlet, there's a Kenneth Cole outlet. And then,
and aren't there all like the TJ Maxx's and Marshalls?
and they're bought. They're bought on 10 or 20 cents to the dollar, and they're sold to the outlets. And there's so many middlemen that are in between that will now taking the shoes and selling them in South America. It's a huge market. So there aren't the availability. They really don't.
Would they work out
don't need the
something
corporate
where they
write-off.
would sell it to you at the same price they'd sell it to, or you don't want to get into that? Or?
I actually we've had discussions with them, but at this point in time, it's not feasible for them.
More for them than for you.
Yes.
So you have, you know, raised enough actual dollars and cents that if they would sell you shoes at 10 cents on the dollar, that would be a wonderful thing for you.
It would be, yeah, if that would happen. So we're moving along on that path.
That's
It's
another
going to be
thing on
slow.
the list.
It's another thing on my list. There's
I know you have a long list.
I have a
girl.
long list.
I know what you mean.
There's a wonderful, for instance, I try to attend as many shoe shows as I can, you know, with the shoe manufacturers. And there's a couple actually that have done very, very well in South Florida, Market Footwear, and they have been very, very generous in their wholesale prices to Shoes for the Soul, and I can call at any time.
Right. Yeah, you would think that, you know, there's just such an enormous amount of this
Well,
stuff.
what has happened with Shoes for the Soul, for instance, the social workers are thrilled, pleased, ecstatic that we exist in all organizations, because not only, you know, budgets with nonprofits, I mean, you're very well, I'm sure, very well aware of the fact that, you know, one person does 15 jobs within a nonprofit. So we service a need that they have, and this is a significant need.
Right.
So they rally around what we are in fact are doing.
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah, what we're in fact are doing. Actually, Broward County, sight unseen, and later came to the warehouse and said, wow, people are, you know, they don't realize when they come to the warehouse, they think that, I don't know what they think they're going to see, but when they open the door and then realize that, you know, for instance, there were 5,000 pairs of shoes at a time on the racks, they say, oh, this exists. But Broward County granted a contract to Shoes for the Soul, specifically for the homeless education program. So I have monies are set aside that I could buy shoes at phenomenal prices with the wholesalers and service the children that are in those 15 homeless shelters all the time. So we're able to do things like that with Christmas in July, where the first year we did Christmas in July, I think we gave out 300 pairs of shoes. This year it was 900.
Wow.
And we started it this was our third year. So we've given out 900.
And the reason it went up 3 times is because more people knew about it? The need was always there?
The children that are in shelters, it's just growing.
The children in shelters is growing.
Think of the ebb and flow of what's happening in our society and economics. It's just, there are many people that are in dire straits and families. And in economic conditions, if there is money for food or gas or minimal clothing is going to be handed down, and so is shoes. People have to pay rent, they have to pay for food and for, their car payments, whatever it may be. So whatever the children need on a hand-me-down situation is.
And I'm sure this is on your list too. I mean, how about like sweaters for the soul and T-shirts for the soul?
Socks. Actually.
Okay, I knew you were working your way up. I didn't know how high you've gotten.
We've received. It's just amazing. One of actually, I believe she was a previous guest, and she's a friend. Is Carol Adrian.
Oh yeah, Carol. Sure, from San Francisco.
Yes. Carol wrote about Shoes for the Soul in her column in the Celestine Vision.
Uh-huh.
And from that, actually, I received emails. I know we talked previously. I received emails worldwide from Kenya and Thailand and Russia and Japan, California, New York. And there were several boxes of shoes and socks that came via their
because
emails.
Really it's unlimited. I mean, people obviously need, we're just, with the disproportionate way things are set up, I mean, the need is...
There will be chapters, there will be affiliations of Shoes for the Soul worldwide. I was recently watching a film, I couldn't sleep, and I went in and,
sleep?
flipped... Not really.
I was going to say, my God, girl.
I don't.
Every time she tells a story, well, I wasn't sleeping this night, I wasn't sleeping this night.
I wasn't, and I actually snuck out and I was flipping
the
television, and I'll tell you about my husband in a bit. He's just a wonderful soul.
I don't know if you have time for your husband.
But in any event,
we're coming to the end of the show.
What he's done with Shoes for the Soul.
This will have to be later, the husband story.
There was a program on Mother Teresa, and she was talking about how she wanted to go worldwide, and they said, Mother, you have to have a plan, you have to have this, and she said, God doesn't have a strategic plan.
On that note, any information about Shoes for the Soul, call Alan, 805-687-2053, 805-687-2053. There's an incredible opportunity for walking the walk and sharing the love, being in the heart, and let's do it together joyously and lovingly. Good night. God bless you.